So it sucks that I have to deal with this in 2020, but yeah, here we go. So I recently got hired as a field technician to geophysical surveys this summer in an area that I wouldn't exactly say, but is essentially the heart of the United States. What that entails is that often I am doing surveys up and down roads that are in both rural and suburban areas in this general city that the company is working for. I got the job because one of the company leaders is also one of the heads of the company is also a professor in my department or in the geology department of my school. And this video isn't really an indictment against them or anything. I'm not really angry at them for any reason. I'm just trying to get this out there so that people understand, particularly white PIs of labs who are doing field work in geosciences and companies that are doing field work in geosciences, to understand that it's really important to address for your black workers and students how you're going to deal with racism in the field. It's really important, and I can't state this enough. So since I've been in this place, every day that I've worked in the field, I have been stared down by at least 3 people who are giving me nice looks for a couple minutes as to figure out what exactly that I'm doing, what it is that I'm doing. In addition to me, there's one other black worker on the team, on the field team, and we often notice and talk about how it's kind of odd how people will just stare at us for long periods of time. In addition to that, I also had an experience on the first day of our field work in which an older individual whose property we were on, I was in a car with another person on the field team, a white person, and the older individual who walked up to our car spoke entirely to him and did not say a single word to me, which I found quite odd, and I set off a lot of alarms in my head. And actually, while he was talking to us, another older individual pulled up in a bike and started slowing down, and I actually started to get a little tense and worried that something was about to go down due to the fact that some of the stickers on this man's motorcycle were prominent stickers associated with more like right wing and what I would describe as anti-black organizations. So that is something that I thought that might have happened, but luckily that situation de-escalated and nothing happened. But that was the first day, and since then, every single day, there's been some sort of what feels to me to be racial tension between me and someone in the area where we're doing our field work. And that kind of all culminated today. So thankfully, I'm going to say right up front, there was thankfully no violence, no violence ensued. There wasn't any fighting or anything like that, but this was honestly pretty scary, and it had my blood pumping. And that I kind of felt like, something seriously might go down, and I was really like wired up for quite a bit after that. And so essentially we are doing our field work, and part of the field work is keeping the roads safe and people safe. So we do ramping on streets, and we do some traffic control to keep people safe. We're working alongside this one road, and we closed off one lane of a 2-lane road, and we had ramped all the driveways for the people whose either homes or work were in our area so that they could get out if need be. Well, one of those people, or one of those groups, a company in particular, was a what I would think would be a junkyard. It might be, yeah, I would guess that it's a junkyard. They had a crane, a very large crane, and to operate the crane, or to get the crane out of the junkyard, we needed to um, cut our work. We're running an ERI line, and we needed to cut it so that they could pass it because our ramps were not strong enough to safely sustain or hold up the weight of the crane as it passed over. So we needed to pause the work, and we told them that. And essentially, I was stationed once we had everything running. I was stationed over in their yard, right in the parking lot outside of their gated off um, junkyard where they had their crane and other equipment and trucks and stuff. And I was just sitting there in case for when they decided they were ready to leave, because they told us they might want to leave while we were doing our work, so that we could pause our work and I could radio it over to the people at the headquarters of our field station, and so we could pause the work and let them move through. And I was there, and the other black student that I was talking about was also there. He was with me in the car, and we were both sitting there. And as they start to prepare, a couple of their employees start filing in, and coming in to enter into the yard. And one of them in particular, on the back of his car, was a white power symbol, and we both immediately were like, huh? And we're like, I'm pretty sure that's a white power symbol. And we were both already like on edge immediately then, and we were like, what's going on here? The employee goes in, and we are both kind of just like antsy, and he also kind of gave us a little bit of a stare down as he went into his workplace. And then at some point they were talking to some of the other people on our team, and they noticed that they had 1942 tattooed onto the front of onto their knuckles, and 1942 is the year the Holocaust started. So now we're pretty much certain that these people are neo-Nazis or in support of neo-Nazis. They also had a bunch of very provocative tattoos all over their body, and also that we then noticed that their address was also 1942. And at this point, like, alarms are ringing off in our head as what are we supposed to do? And unfortunately, they had already pulled the crane out, so our truck was kind of locked into their area, and we were trying to in real time call and talk to the rest of our field team, like our superiors, to figure out what exactly we needed to do, like what exactly the plan was in case something happened, because we needed to understand, we need to know if they would be in support of us, if we, say, had to fight them to protect ourselves, or if we needed to run, or what we needed to, and we were trying to do that real time, and that was honestly very unfortunate and not the way that needs to be done. And I feel like, just as a general, a lot of people haven't thought about that, because in, like, say, geosciences, the majority of people in the geosciences are white, and the majority of leaders are white, so none of them are thinking about these sorts of issues. So I just kind of wanted to get it out there for PIs of labs. If you're taking your students into areas that could be dangerous, you really have to have a talk with them, because thankfully now we've established something after today, but pretty much every day that we've been here, there has been some sort of racial tension, and it's only been a week of work, and it took 1 week for us to find neo-Nazis. So that was honestly pretty horrifying, and this is the kind of thing that, although as a PI or as a leader, you can't really, control the views of people in the areas you're working in the field, you have to understand this is the kind of thing that pushes black students out of the geosciences, because they often feel like, oh, these areas are very hostile to us. Well, my camera died, but I got off pretty much all of what I had to say. Just I just wanted to finish the thought that I had that essentially, yeah, these areas are really harmful and can be very dangerous to us. So please take your students' lives in serious, serious concern and listen to them. Listen to them if they feel off or uncertain. That's just important. And that's all I really wanted to get out there. And just to conclude that, number one, to all the people who think it's weird whenever you see someone like me doing science on the side of the road and you don't know, you think I'm up to no good, or you think that I'm not a scientist, or I don't know what it is that you're thinking, screw you, I am. Too bad. And number two, to all the people who have leadership positions, take care of your students. It's important. Our lives are important. Thanks. Keep it loopy.